Alright, I really didn't want to be doing this. This is a Rheem RBHA, I don't know, regular small residential house unit. Pause it there if you need the info. The fan started squeaking. I noticed that the motor's not serviceable. There's no like pull-out plugs or anything to drip oil in there. I guess some motors do. It started squeaking really bad, so I said, just to try to make it last a little bit longer, I tried to put a little oil down and on the bearing from the back side. Just try to make it through till Friday, because that's when my new motor's coming in. But anyway, it shit the bed. So it's not working now. It's 9 o'clock at night. Girlfriend's bitching, so anyway, I'm going to try to start pulling this thing apart to get in there to pull that motor out, because the supply house is by my work and it'll save me a little bit of driving if I can do it all in one shot. The motor is a GE. I tried looking up part numbers for it and it was like a real pain in the ass. So anyway, I'm gonna bring it in there to match. And anyway, right now I think what I can do is take the electrical panel. I believe that it's not necessarily completely integral to the fan shroud, so I'm gonna try to disconnect as much of it as I can and pull it off to the side without disconnecting anything, and see if that gives me enough room to pull that blower motor assembly out, or even, well, I guess I can't move it to the side because I have to get in there and remove the squirrel cage fan, which is always a pain in the ass. No doubt that fan squirrel cage is going to be just covered in bullshit. So I'll probably go in a sandblaster cleaner or some sort. But anyway, I'm gonna start pulling this apart. I'll bring you back when it makes progress. These are color matched, but there's a couple that aren't. Anyway, I'm gonna separate this, because from what I can tell, this whole thing slides right out. And that'll be a fucking dream if it does. So I could take this whole junker right out and put it on my workbench, which would be very nice. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to speed it up through this section. Fuck yeah! Alright, so this motor was, we were sitting and watching TV, and all of a sudden we smelled smoke, and I sort of knew where it was coming from. But, and I can smell it now. You can see some of the oil. Anyway, it smells horrible. But, I'm going to pull this motor off tonight so I can take it into the supply house tomorrow and have match it up. And that will be awesome. Especially if they have the damn thing. But anyway, super happy with how that pulled out. Literally 2 screws, the thermostat wires, the two 110 legs, and that's it. So I might even try to jerry-rig a fan in there for tonight. We'll see how that goes. On second thought, I was thinking about shoving I have a bunch of little squirrel cage fans, like the portable fans. I was thinking about shoving one in here and facing it upwards, but, you know, for one night, what the hell am I hitting here? I probably shouldn't be fucking around with stuff like that. I mean, having to seal it all back up in, and who knows, anyway. I'll live one night without AC. Alright. So we've got the square drive nut there. I'll get that with the crescent wrench. You can see all the schmoo on that fan. I'm sure that has something to do with the efficiency or lack thereof. And then to take this off, man, it's still fucking hot. I don't know whether I'm gonna, you know, I think it'll be less bolts if I take it off from here, so I'll probably just try to take the motor itself out and leave these brackets as they were. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, I don't really have a good perspective to set the camera, so I'm going to spare you watching me take this piece of shit apart, and I'll bring you back. So it's a little warm when you're touching it, and it's been sitting there for a while, so anyway, we definitely let the smoke out of her. Okay, sorry. Pro tip, you know, the color coding on this whole thing is pretty straightforward. Like the diagram on the side actually makes sense, but because I don't want to leave a lot of room for doubt when I'm putting this thing back together, I just cut off all the wires and left them connected on the other side, and then when I get the new motor, you know, it's just plug and play, color match. I don't even have to think. So anyway, cut out any room for error. Alright, I'm going to go to Marcone tomorrow and see what happens. Alright, sorry I didn't show you. I pulled the shaft right out of this thing. I got lucky. I'm sure I was thought I'd be fighting that thing, but luckily it came right out. So anyway, that was good. Alright, well, I'm out here fucking around. I do have an insulation tester. They call it a megger. Anyway, so I megged this thing, and that's 1,000 volts. That's a little high. I think probably small motor like this would be 200. But as far as I can tell, the insulation and everything on here is fine. So there's not, and I tested the outside of it too. So there's no short in anything. Like, I don't think the oil that I put in here earlier had anything to do with it. I think this is straight mechanical. I mean, you can see a little bit of the backlash in here, and I mean, I can hear a little bit in there, and I guess with, I don't know, it's shot anyway. But the insulation and everything seems to have held up. There wasn't any problems with this, so anyway, mechanically is the only issue with this, and for whatever this motor is, I'm not going to fuck with bearings or anything like that, because it sure as hell doesn't look serviceable. Maybe tomorrow, if I can find a motor, I'll go that route, but right now, still on track to buy a new one from the store tomorrow. Alright, so I had some problems trying to find the motor locally. I think I may have said earlier, I got one, the exact match motor off of eBay from Vero, which is not too far north of here. I ordered it when this was just starting to squeak, and it's going to be here by Friday, and I thought, oh, that'd be enough time, this thing will last. No, that wasn't the case, so now I'm just trying to rush to get some AC because it's getting hot. So what I'm going to do is I've got this Packard 43584, like a universal blower thing, blower motor. It's got 3 speeds, and the 3 speeds I guess equate to 1/8 to 1/6 or 1/4 horsepower. So anyway, when I wire it up, I'll try to remember to point that out. But I'm going to make that fit in here. When I figure that out, I will bring you back and show you what I did. Try to clean this junker out. That was goddamn nasty. Alright, so in a perfect world, this would have 8 holes in it so that I could bolt these right into this bracket. But, of course, it doesn't have the 8 holes, so I'm going to make some modifications so that it fits. Alright, what I've done is I've chosen to preserve the original legs here. I guess I could have taken them off, but you know, then they get lost. I just put a couple self-tappers. I sort of eyeballed it, and there's this sort of perimeter ring that gives you some indication of where the fan wants to center. So by using that, I sort of tried to reach out as far as I could, and then evenly, and then self-tap those in, and that seems to work at this orientation. I'm sure if I turn it a different orientation, it's going to bang around. But I think there's a little bit of ability to adjust this, and meaning in and out, if it does hit. So anyway, I'm going to proceed with trying to figure out the wiring on this, because my pro tip no longer abides. So I'll go to the instructions and make sure that I know what is going on here. Bring it back. Alright, while I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and test the capacitor. I think the bearings just going on their own is one thing, but I guess if the capacitor doesn't start right, they might develop some undue heat, and then heat and bearings and all, so on and so forth. You know, it's not a good thing. The capacitor right now is testing at 6.97, so that's like, I think it's supposed to be 7.5 microfarad, 370 volts. Alright, so I had another air conditioner at one point in time that needed a capacitor, and I got this one, and anyway, it came as an extra or whatever. But I'm going to test it. In order to use, this is that Unity. I love this little thing. You select stunt amps, you'll see not that. Where am I at? No, I'm up too much. So you're going to go to the where it looks like it's got a little sound picture and then like a diode tester. You don't want that. You don't want the ohms. That's diode test. That's not going to work either. You want to look for that NF, the nanofarads. So anyway, we're going to see that this capacitor is perfect. So we're going to use this one, take out the old one, start with all fresh shit. So anyway, not all capacitors will test, or not all, but multimeters will test a capacitor. So anyway, if you are shopping around for one, I'm happy with this one. Not sure what you need, but look for that symbol. Right there, that's the, sorry for the shakiness. That's the capacitor. And then that little one with the plus and the arrow, that's the diode test. And the other one is just ohms. So, anyway, I'm going to replace that and bring it back. Alright, so here's the final wiring for this thing. I had my buddy come over and help explain it to me. It's 220, so there's going to be two 110 legs coming into here. And the other motor didn't have... The other motor was different. I don't know. Anyway, so the line comes in and picks up 110 from here, and then the other 110 that goes in happens to be, in this case we're going to go with black. That's the other line, so it's like 110, 110. And then this black comes over and it's going to give us high speed on this. So anyway, I'm going to go plug it in and see where we're at. Alright, so the unit is back in the spot. And come through and check and make sure there's no power or anything. You don't want to get cooked. I don't want to get cooked. Alright, so while you're watching me do this bullshit, what I was trying to avoid by going this other route with the new motor, with a different motor, is trying to save some money, because Rheem doesn't make that unit anymore, that particular motor, and you know, it's supply demand. They wanted a gazillion dollars for the last unicorn of a motor they had. Luckily I had bought one off of eBay. I mean, so I would have never really been completely screwed. But at the end of the day, I was trying to get this thing running quickly because I don't want to sleep in the heat. So I went ahead and it cost me $60 for the motor, another $14 for the bracket. The guy was super helpful today at a little local auto supply or HVAC supply place. So anyway, we're gonna keep wiring this along and see how it goes. But you know, you never can take enough pictures. I took a shitload of pictures and it's still confusing to me now. Anyway, I'll just keep going along and see what happens. So that is wired up now. I've got it still a little loose. I mean, not all the way tied together yet, because what I have to do is check to make sure that the fan is spinning the right direction, which is counterclockwise. And God, that's hard to tell. The fan should spin like this, I guess, so I'm going to fire it up and see what happens. Make sure this is recording in case something shitty happens. Figure out how a breaker works. Alright, so I got power there. Fuck yeah! Then I'm going to turn it off and see if I can see where it stops spinning. Alright, that was spinning towards me, which I pretty sure is the right way. Let me see if I got some air coming out of the ducts. Oh yeah, that works good. That's on a little higher, or it's on high now. The other motor was a 825 RPM. This was a 1,000. Let me check the amps on this. some air out here.
Should have been the joke whatever.
Alright, that's 2.7 amps.
You got the door open. Where?
Oh, okay. Well, apparently that should go down when I close the door and there's less air.
Even at 7 amps, it's not going to trip the breaker.
No, I mean, I'm only 0.2 amps off, but dang.
You're in the service factor, most likely.
2.7. It's still like, it's well down 15% is normally the service factor. 1.15. Yeah, so if it was 1 amp, it'd be 1.15, and if it was 2 amps, it'd be 2.3. So, it's fucking close, but what's the low speed?
We'll see if it freezes up. Well, the only thing with low speed is, yeah, it'll get so cold that it might freeze.
But even at low speed, it probably is still close to 825, which is what the other one was, right?
Yeah, it may not change the amperage, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would just try shutting the door.
Alright, so I'm right at full load within the like 1.15 service factor, but you know that's very interesting. The fact that it sucks more air, it'll end up dropping the the load on the motor. So that's cool.